Good morning. Our hand today is going to be Ace King Hearts. Played this last night at a 10 NL game. We are down to 7 players right now. And we have a player here that opens for 3 big blinds. Is 3 big blind open. He's playing 28-15. I've tagged him as an orange, so he tends to be on the more aggressive side of things. When we look at his stats, his first in stat from mid position is 27%. Looks like he plays 26-27% in early and mid. Cutoff, it's 34 hands. Could be a smaller sample size. So we have to come up with one of his range. So I think this could be a range is like 26, almost 27%. That's probably pretty good for us. So then I raise to 10 big blinds. I 3-bet. And this is my cutoff 3-betting range versus a mid-position player. So you can see I am definitely tight here. I raised to 10. I don't really expect any player behind me to call, especially for this bet. Maybe this player, Villain 5, because he's playing 50% of flops, and possibly this player 38. But with a bet and a raise, I think it makes it harder for these loose players to call. I think if I just called the 3, he's calling and he's calling. So I 3-bet, and then Villain calls here. So now we look at this, and I could say, has he 4-bet at all? His 4-betting range is ace-queen suited. That's all that we have. So if he's ace-queen suited, he's probably at ace-queen offsuit, and then I'm going to say he's 3-betting jacks plus maybe queens. Would he fold any hands? Possibly. So his fold to 3-bet 67%. So yeah, I kind of think maybe he's folding some of these weaker, maybe even these weaker suited connectors, offsuits. Kind of keep Broadway. I mean, that's at 16.7%. That's, we probably need to trim it some more. But at the same time, we don't quite know what he's going to do. So I say let's work with this hand. So he doesn't have like those big premium hands. And then flop comes king queen 7, which obviously hits us. Ace queen's out there. I think king queen could be out there. I mean, ace queen, I guess if we say he 3-bets, he doesn't have it out there. So I'm thinking more of like king queen type hands. He checks. I bet half pot. Queen jack. I think king jack could call here too. Goes for some value. He calls. 2 of clubs comes out. At this point, I'm thinking, what is he calling with? He's not just calling with low pocket pairs. I just don't see that. So he checks again. Do we go for value? And I did. I said, well, you know, I think if I had ace jack, I would not like ace jacks is in my 3-betting range, but I think this is where I'm curious. Should I have continued? Maybe even on the flop. Should I have bet the flop? Well, I bet half pot. He calls. Then the jack comes up. Now I'm thinking king jack and queen jack get there, and those were the hands that I was thinking I'm getting value from. So he checks and I check behind. So I want to check out the GTO and see how that looks. So also note in this hand that we were actually pretty deep. We were over 200 big blinds deep. So let's check out GTO. So I set up GTO so that our out of position player only shows aggression, only donks if he's shown aggression in the hand. It's because out of 253 hands, he is not donked, so 0 out of 15. I also don't really think this is a board that he could donk with. I think if it was like a king, say king 7-2, I think that could be, because now he's donking to see, do I have a king? Do I have a high kicker? So I don't think he's going to be donking here. So villain should be checking 100%. Now we should be betting nearly 100%, so 93%. Hands that we don't check is ace queen and some jacks, and then very occasionally ace 2, ace 3, ace 4. But for the most part, we are betting. We made the 3-bet. This board should hit our hand hard. we're going to basically be c-betting everything. So we're going to be betting even our top pair, and our trip hands, because we're also going to be betting these ace-2, ace-3, ace-4, ace-5s. So we can't, I don't think this is the time to solo play. So we bet, and then Villain, if he's playing GTO, should be raising with sets and 2 pairs. We'll go with it, and then we'll see what happens when we don't. So he calls, and 2 of clubs comes out. I don't think the club's going to really change much. 2 of clubs, 2 of hearts, no matter. So Villain's going to check again. And now it looks like we are betting again most of our hands. Not as big a drop because we don't have a huge number of weak cards in our hand like we have been this last week. If we bet 100%, you have 40% of those hands just missed. We're going to have to start checking those on the turn, whereas in this case, we don't have a huge number of hands that missed. So we're still going to be betting. We're still betting our top pair. We're still mostly betting our second pair as well. We're betting our trips, our over pairs, even jacks. So depending on the player, we can kind of slow things down with like the hearts or the diamond draws where we don't have, we didn't connect with our backdoor. And then our spades is bluff because we just hope he folds. So we bet half pot again. Villain calls. Now again, in theory, he shouldn't have many 3 of a kind or 2 pairs because he should have raised those on the flop. I do think at this point in this hand, when I bet the flop or when I bet the turn, if Villain was going to raise me, I was going to fold. That was my plan. So I think I would have done that correct. Now, if he raises me here, would I have folded? I would have considered it because Villain is probably raising with trips and 2 pairs. So, just exploitative fold, whereas GTO says you need to call those. Obviously, raising with queens, probably with kings, but he didn't. He called. So I bet if he raises me, again, GTO is going to say we're going to have to call with some of these top pair, top kicker hands because Villain could be doing this with, let's say, Jack 10 some of those times, Queen 10, King 10. It basically taking a stab. GTO doesn't have him raising, but I think these are the type of hands that I think Villain would be raising with. So he doesn't. He just calls. And then Jack of Spades comes out, and I do think Jack of Spades is one of the worst cards that could have come, because I think if it was like a 2 or a 3, I probably would have bet again, try to go for 3 streets of value. So here he checks, and then yeah, it does look like we really slow down here. We're still betting our trips, we're still betting our overpair, but our ace king now become mostly checks. We've got top pair, top kicker. If Villain has been calling, I think he's been calling King 10, Queen 10. I'm sorry, King Jack, Queen Jack. He now has just hit 2 pair. I think we are being a little bit cautious with this. And again, with how Villain's been playing check call, I wouldn't necessarily doubt that he's also going to check call again, even with his big hands. So it looks like we are betting here only 50% of the time, and the hands that we do bet are balanced by these ace 3, ace 4, ace 5. Ace 2 is somewhat of a bet with 2 pair, ace 3, ace 4, ace 5, and it looks like clubs is what we are continuing with mostly in terms of our bets. So I checked, which I think is correct. Note that ace king of clubs, it was a bet here, but none of the other ace kings are bet. I think that's a little bit interesting. So we check behind, we see showdown. He shows ace queen. I had ace king. So was that in his range? No. So at this point, I had ace king, or ace queen, not even in his range, because I assumed he 3-bets. So maybe he 3-bets with ace queen suited, jacks plus and not the ace queen offsuit. So if he's doing ace queen, I think we're going to really kind of narrow up his hand here. I guess jacks could be in his range. So maybe queens plus ace queen suited. Let's get rid of these. Let's say jack 10. We'll keep suited aces if he has those, and pocket pairs. So let's go ahead and revise this. Run solver, and then yeah, I think I'm gonna take a note on this player that he, raised pre-flop, called 3-bet with ace queen, and then flop second pair top kicker, and just check call on the turn, and then we check the river. But I'm gonna pause this, run the solver, and we'll be back when we're done. All right, solver's done. Same parameters, just different opening ranges. So we are now only betting 62.8%. The question is, why is that? I think with this range on this board, let's slide this over here. He could have king, queen, king, jack. I think he has he's got fewer hands that should call here. I bet if we said he's going to call with any ace or any underpair because he doesn't believe us, then we're probably going to be betting close to 100% again. But since he's at a much tighter range, you don't expect him to be calling with these. So yeah, if I bet here, you can see that you don't expect him to be calling with these underpairs. You don't expect him to be calling with these suited aces. So he's going to be folding a lot more, which means we're not going to be betting on 100% anymore. We're not going to be betting even 90% anymore. We're betting 62%. So even our aces, we're going to be using it as a check. Our jacks are going to be as a jack, as a check. Kings and queens we're going to be betting. Ace king we're betting, so I'm glad I did that. I had that. Our ace king off and ace queen off, so I'm not surprised with ace queen off. You could easily be facing like a king hand, a king queen, maybe a king jack. I do have a king jack in there, but small percentage points. So ace king though, ace of spades we're betting, so it's going to be a mixed strategy, and I bet frequency wise it probably makes more sense to just pick the ace of spades since that's the last suit that's hasn't been on the board yet, and say we're going to be betting those. So I bet those. Villain should be raising 2-pair and set, so we're going to say he is playing GTO and he doesn't make that, and he only calls. 2 of clubs comes out, he checks. And now we are looking at betting. We're betting at a little bit higher frequency because villain's range, we should have it beat because he's calling with kings, he's calling with queens. He didn't call with underpairs, or he shouldn't be calling with underpairs. And we didn't bet our entire range, so we have strong hands in our range. Now we do have some mixed strategies with the low aces, so we're betting ace 3, ace 4, ace 5, leaning towards the clubs. Also the spades, since I guess that's going to be our pure bluff maybe. But we're still betting queens, kings, aces, ace king we're still betting, and of those kings that we bet, we are mostly betting again, or the ace king offsuits that we bet, we're still betting again. And here ace of spades is really driving the bets. It kind of ensures that at least maybe an suited ace of clubs is in that hand, so I think our bet's fine. Villain should be calling most of the time that he plays instead of raising. So then we've got jack of spades comes out on the river, villain checks, and now we check 38%, and you can see here, yeah, ace king checks, tripped kings, tripped queens, tripped jacks, bets for value, and then we're going to have some of these ace 3, ace 4, ace 5 bet for some bluffs. So we're balancing these bluffs with these, or you could say we're balancing our trip hands with these ace 3, ace 4, ace 5. So yeah, it looks like we did this pretty good. What happens if we change his calling range? So if we say he's not going to 3-bet, and question is, how often does he 3-bet here? 3-bet, he hasn't 3-bet on the flop, he hasn't 3-bet on the turn, and he hasn't 3-bet on the river. Hasn't donked on the flop, hasn't donked on the turn, hasn't donked on the river. So this seems to be a little bit more passive. So let's go ahead and change these assumptions, change it to a call. So he's only going to call with trips. He's only going to call with two pair. He's only going to call with top pair. He's only going to call with middle pair. I do think the weak pairs are folding. Even these like A7 hands. Take that back. We're going to say A7 calls. We'll say all A7. We'll say the ace 10s, ace jacks. Basically, those just call once and then fold. And even ace jack could easily probably just folds. Let's see. Yeah, his fold to c-bet stats pretty low. So we're going to assume that he doesn't normally fold, which is kind of strange because he doesn't donk. What about the probe? 50%. So if we miss, then he seems like he's more likely to probe. So if we check, he's more likely to bet. Okay, so yeah, let's include ace jack, ace 10, those hands in there. No made hand. So we're just gonna call with open ender. I think that looks good. So let's run our solver and we will be back. All right, we're back, and now based on that, since he's not raising, we're going to be betting 100%, which then again means on the turn we're going to be checking a bit more. So we're going to be probably c-betting, I don't know, 60-70% maybe. So we bet 100%. He calls with all those ranges. That's fine. He checks again. We're betting, whoa, way off. We're betting 37%. So we're still betting ace king. We're betting ace king of clubs. We have some more checks with ace king of hearts and ace king of spades. We're betting kings and queens. So we've got 3, 6, 3 and 6, and then some of those bets, so maybe about 6. So we're balancing a little bit more on the turn instead of balancing on the flop like we did on that very first hand. So I still think our bet's going to be okay. Let's change this. He still hasn't called, so even if he, we'll check this. Even if he plays GTO, calls jack spades, we check behind with ace king. We're betting our trips. We're betting some of these for bluffs. So let's adjust this again. I don't think he hasn't 3-bet. So let's get this fixed. Let's say he doesn't 3-bet with any of those. Middle pair, we know he had ace queen, so we'll call with that. Weak pair, I think at this point he's probably just going to fold that weak pair, the ace 7. I'd like to think he would fold the ace jacks now. And he does. He doesn't really fold on the flop to folding a little bit more. 0 out of 1. He never really got here, so that's kind of rough. Flush draw, we will say, is just a call. Open enders call, gut shot to call. All right, so let's run this again. We'll be back. All right, so that changes it. We're up to 74%, so we are still just kind of being aggressive. We don't have to worry so much about our getting check raised here, so we're still betting ace king. Ace king of clubs now gets tossed in as a check. I'm wondering if we're doing that to try to get paid on the turn. So, and I think that's pretty decent. We check, he leads, which he probably will, and then we call with our ace kings. I don't think I could ever fold that ace king, even ace king of club. I think this player, it will probe if we show weakness. So I think we bet, he calls, and he checks, and now we're betting 17%. We're still just kind of checking behind. We're going for trips, and then very small number of bluffing hands. So I think overall, I think my play works pretty good for GTO. I kind of had a feel for top pair, top kicker. Yeah, he could have 2 pair, but you know, when you go back and look at his calling range, you know, how many combos does he really have? He's got 9 combos total. 9 combos out of 136. So he's got a small number. Definitely you have to be more concerned if he check raises us, and for this player he doesn't really do that, but if he does, I think we could safely fold. Alright, so hopefully you enjoyed this hand. If you did, look tomorrow for another.